number one thing we need people to do is detox. Even when we have microbes and things developing, that in my view is because there's trash that's not being taken out, right? Like we don't have rats and flies unless there's trash building up on the street corner. It's the same in the body.
Well, welcome to the Taylor Method for Pain-Free Living podcast. I'm here with my special guest, Dr. Diana Drake, who's a board certified naturopath and founder of DMD Natural Medicine.
Yes, my initial.
So, welcome to the show, Dr.
Thanks,
Diana.
Doc. Appreciate it. Love to
Yeah,
be.
good to have you on this program. So, how did you become? Let's start from the beginning. What interested you in becoming a doctor of naturopathy?
Sure. So I actually started as an esthetician a while ago, and I opened a holistic spa. And what I learned from putting the name holistic on my business was that it actually attracted a lot of people who were very disillusioned with what was going on with their doctor and dermatologist, people with really severe skin conditions that I realized I was not equipped to deal with. So I went and became a traditional naturopath. And in the beginning, I just specialized in skin. Acne, eczema, psoriasis, rosacea. And then I kind of started getting more into hormone and thyroid wellness. So that's kind of become my specialty, is more of the endocrine space. And in doing that, I really love that I'm taking people off of HRT, really educating people that getting on synthetic hormones and thyroid stimulating hormone, these things are actually very damaging to your body and only should be used in a severe case where it has to be done. But there are so many other options that people have before they have to look at getting on any drug whatsoever, really, in my opinion. There are so many other great modalities that we have from a natural standpoint.
Okay, great. Wow. So you do a lot of different things here, but you mentioned that you started off as an esthetician and
Yeah.
now you are doing holistic healthcare. What does that look like? I mean, that's kind of a unique niche there.
It is.
Skin with naturopathy and getting on more on the internal. Can you talk a little bit more about that since the skin is so important and a lot of people are dealing with skin issues and rashes and conditions that they may have not been able to address. Tell us what your approach to handling skin conditions are like.
Sure. So, our skin is our largest organ and it really is an elimination organ. So, if something is expressing through the skin, that's your body's last chance to get it out, right? That's your body pushing it out at the last phase. So, typically, when we can open our proper elimination organs, right? So, kidneys, liver, and bowels, and clean out the lymphatics, then we can take the burden off of the skin, right? So that everything's not getting pushed out that way, but going out the way that it's supposed to. So that's really, with eczema and psoriasis or, things that are named autoimmune. Really, autoimmune just means the immune system is overburdened. And so it's trying to get something out, in whatever tissue it's working on. I don't believe that the body attacks itself for no reason. I don't believe that there are any errors in this design that we have, and the body doesn't make mistakes. So if it's doing something, we want to help it try to finish what it's starting, not stop that progress, which is generally what a dermatologist would do by putting a cortisol cream or some sort of shot that stops the expression. And then we just have a root cause that continues to go unchecked in the body. So with natural medicine, we're really healing from the root. So from the inside out, versus Western is stop the symptom and kind of suppresses it back in. So it takes a little longer when you're working naturally because first that root has to heal, right? And then we see the symptoms go away. And it doesn't mean you won't feel a little bit better, but it's not the right away, result that people are used to with Western medicine.
Yes. So tell us, what are the most common skin conditions that you treat there in your practice?
Definitely eczema and psoriasis are big, especially in adults. But right now, with women who have PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is really just excess androgens in the body, this is causing a lot of problems. So typically, they have really bad periods. bad acne. So people will come to me for the acne, and then I really get into what's going on with their entire body. But I think about 70% of women actually have PCOS, and it's really not diagnosed properly and underdiagnosed. And it's kind of a serious problem. It's really affecting fertility, obviously the skin, really making people feel horrible when they're having periods, or on the other side, you might not have enough periods. So PCOS is a pretty big issue. It also affects insulin resistance and blood sugar. So there are a lot of things that need to be balanced in a woman with PCOS. And this is kind of a newer disease. This is not something our parents dealt with, our moms. But this is really, really prevalent and developing in young women today.
Got it. So when you have an external skin condition, it's really telling you that there is an internal problem going on that is failing to be addressed.
Correct. And
Correct.
as a esthetician, we weren't trained that way. We're trained like, what can you do topically? But you can only do so many things topically, right? Before you have to get inside.
So being a trained esthetician that's always worked topically, and then you switched over to the naturopath, I'd imagine that combination of working on the internal and the external can be really beneficial for clients there that are looking to beautify and improve their skin from the inside out. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that's been like in regards to the transformation of your patients in practice by doing the inside as opposed to working on the inside deficiencies as opposed to just working topically?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a huge learning curve, making that kind of switch. Lots of experimenting. Being, one of the only naturopaths focused on skin. It's not like I had a mentor for the skin. I'm kind of, as far as I know, one of the only naturopaths that really specializes in skin. So people come to me from all over the country. They find me. So it was a lot of, okay, if I know this is going on and this is going on, I'm going to put these protocols together. And I was actually grabbing from so many different brands. I mean, out of the hundreds of supplement companies, I couldn't believe that there wasn't one supplement company that was focused on skin. So I actually created one, and it's called Skin Naturopathics. I launched it before COVID. So I actually trained other estheticians on how to view the skin internally, what are all the root causes going on with each skin condition, and then how do we use the line Skin Naturopathics to go after all of these imbalances internally. So that's kind of my mission as well, is to help educate other estheticians, because I kind of pioneered what I did on myself and with all my testing and things. So I just wanted to make that easier for other estheticians. And, unfortunately, because the dermatologist can't answer the why question, like they can tell you have eczema, they can tell you have psoriasis, but they can't tell you why. So a lot of people are turning to their estheticians, like, can you help me with diet? Can you help me with this? I don't know why this is happening. So I'm trying to kind of arm the community of estheticians with the knowledge to be able to answer these questions. I also try to go after dermatologists as well. They're a little harder to get to, I guess. I mean, even the ones that say they want to become holistic, they don't really understand how to recommend supplements. They are just used to, I see a patient for 15 minutes, get the insurance, in and out. They don't understand that, okay, you have to consult about the diet. We have to explain to our people why we're giving them supplements and what they do. And they just don't see how that's going to work in their current Western model with insurance.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of the common deficiencies that you see with patients that are dealing with psoriasis or eczema? I'm sure you're dealing with food allergies, they're dealing with toxins in their body.
Yeah. So
microbe imbalances. What are some things what are some common supplements that your patients and clients are taking from you after they meet with you for initial evaluation?
Yeah, sure. So when we're dealing with something as intense as a psoriasis or eczema condition, the number one thing we need people to do is detox. Even when we have microbes and things developing, that in my view is because there's trash that's not being taken out, right? Like we don't have rats and flies unless there's trash building up on the street corner. It's the same in the body. So we have to get all the junk out. So typically regardless of the deficiencies, everyone needs to detox very intensively. So I have a step 1 detox kit that focuses really heavily on the lymphatic and the blood, but then it also hits the kidneys, the liver, the colon. So really just cleaning everything out. And sometimes you have to detox for 6 months. But typically when we start to alleviate the burden on the skin and get things out the proper elimination channels, people start to feel relief within, a couple of weeks. And then I also have a great supplement. It's a natural antihistamine. So it has, boswellia and some other kind of anti-inflammatory things. And I also have a Chinese herbal blend for heat clearing. So anything that's hot to the touch, warm, red, it's just herbs that are very cooling. So you have a hot skin condition, you put cooling herbs and you kind of neutralize that information for the client. So we both work on getting the symptom down a little bit so they feel better while we're working on that root cause.
Mm-hmm. It's
kind of like what you do. You do the adjustment, then the topical things, you have the supplements. So just looking at everything holistically.
Yeah. And so you're getting rid of the toxins. What are some of the most common things that they're doing that's putting toxins in their body, your clients?
Well, unfortunately, living in America, you can just be an innocent bystander and walking outside and you're just completely exposed to toxins. Even people that eat super clean, we ingest pounds and pounds of toxins on a yearly basis. So we need to start implementing detoxing. Like I personally detox every spring and every fall. That just needs to be something that we're all doing. But they're going to get, pesticides are a big one. Stuff in our water, chlorine, fluoride, we're getting prescription drugs in our water, hormones. There's a lot of stuff that we're in contact with. Even, especially where we are in Florida, not even on the food, but the pesticides, they're constantly spraying here. I mean, the glyphosate, all these things really, really build up in our tissues and cause disease. So it's really important to get those out.
What about saunas, and do you prescribe that for your patients, getting in either an infrared sauna or a steam room or something where they're sweating and getting rid of toxins that way?
That is also a great thing to do. I typically first focus on the supplementing, and then if they can afford it, then yes, I advise sauna and colonics are also a really great thing. You pretty much won't find a skin condition, in my opinion, that doesn't have a relationship to the gut and how often people are eliminating. I often find people with like the worst eczema and psoriasis, they're telling me that they've only got, they only have one bowel movement every 2 or 3 days since they were a kid. So, even if you're eating completely organic food, that is still trash that's not being taken out. It still has to be broken down and taken out. And if you're not eliminating, that's years and years and years of toxins just building up, and it ends up backing into the liver and coming out through the skin.
Yeah, that's such a common thing that we see in our practice, people that they're not having 2-3 bowel movements a day, and where does all those extra meals go, right? And so what are some things that you like to recommend to help with that elimination through the bowels?
Yeah, so a lot of people are going to go for a probiotic, which I think is great. Yes. I like to use a spore forming probiotic because it's less resistant to the pH change and heat change and things like that. So Microbiome Labs makes a great probiotic called Megaspore. That's one that I recommend. But we also have to work on that mucosal lining, make sure that it's moisturized and so that things can slide through. You can do that with herbs, slippery elm, marshmallow is great. Microbiome Labs also makes a mega mucosa that has different IgGs in it that just kind of help build up that lining. And then to actually physically move it, you can do psyllium hulls. I like to do a blend typically. That's just like, some sort of bowel support blend that'll kind of help move things along. Also, initially, I'll typically run the full body detox. Will have a colon cleanse with it. So my other company, Dr. Dale Wellness, who I purchased from one of my mentors that passed on, she was the one who really taught me about all the hormone and the thyroid things. She makes a great full body detox. It's really intensive, much more than my derma detox that I make with Skin Naturopathics, but that has a full individual product for colon, kidney, liver, and then an immune product. So that's really going to go through and clean everything out through the colon. And then on top of that, you want the probiotics, you want something to support that mucosal membrane. And depending on the severity, I might have someone doing colonics twice a week for the first month.
Yeah. Yeah. We also recommend just people, they're just dehydrated. They're not drinking enough water. So nothing's going to
Absolutely.
move. Then increasing their vegetable intake
Yep,
and
fiber. Got to get the fiber in.
getting that natural fiber in there, and then getting the bowels moving by doing some type of exercise, walking or whole
Yep.
body vibration of some sort, or mechanotherapy, or jumping on a trampoline, or just some movement. They're just sitting there stationary, dehydrated, drinking
Right.
coffee, right? And
No,
that caffeine's dehydrating them and nothing's moving. Then they wonder why I don't have a bowel
yeah,
movement.
absolutely. I think it's so important that we're looking at what our clients are doing with their diet and their water. And those are actually kind of something that I have on my list for things that we want to make sure to help us with pain, right? Is we don't want to be dehydrated. So we really want to make sure we're getting clean, purified water with minerals and salt added back. So I add Celtic sea salt back to my water. I do a half teaspoon a day. So I just kind of divide it out in my water. On top of that, I add more minerals back in. It's just so important to mineralize so it's actually absorbing properly. And then making sure that we're more on the alkaline side of the pH scale so we don't have over acidity in the body. That can also contribute to pain as well. So really making sure we're eating an alkaline diet. I like to put people on a plant-based diet. And everyone always says, oh, I don't want to be a vegan. That's not what that means. Plant-based means the basis of what we're eating is coming from the earth, not processed. So if I can get people to a 70 to 80% fiber-based or fiber-fueled diet, that's where I like to have them. And I say the other 30%, you can do your meat, you could do your dairy, you could have some sugar. But if we can get the basis of our diet to be plants, it really changes the whole landscape, especially in the bowels, and your body can really heal.
How important is eating organic in your opinion?
I mean, I just feel like we have no choice. We have to. People think that organic just has to do with pesticides, and it's so much more than that. First of all, they still spray organic produce with some pesticides. They're just not the cancer causing ones. But if you're eating produce that's not organic, it's also been genetically modified. It's probably been sprayed with glyphosate. It's also probably been irradiated. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, when
Irradiation.
yep.
They basically zap it really quick, like a microwave frequency to kill any bacteria. But what that does is completely kills the enzymes. So you're eating dead, genetically modified food that's covered in poison, pretty much. And,
Depressing.
it's really depressing because, in Europe, where they pay for their healthcare through the taxes, right? But the government pays for it. They're like, oh, we probably shouldn't contribute to making our people sick. So they purposely keep that stuff out of their food supply. Whereas here, I mean, I feel like it's purposely kept in, to be honest.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah. So
They make more money when
they
everybody's
make more
sick.
money if we're sick, and insurance and all these kind of things. And with the animals, even the organic chicken, like I don't buy organic meat from the store. I get it. I'm not a huge meat person, but I get it shipped in from like a wild ranch where I know that the animals are like running free around. And just because even if it's organic, the conditions that these animals live in, just they're sickly. So you're ingesting this just like kind of toxic flesh, I think, in my opinion.
Mm.
So
Okay.
I'm pretty careful about that too. But
So tell us then about maybe an eczema or a psoriasis case. How long does it take? What's your success rate in helping these people overcome these skin conditions or other skin conditions?
I mean, I would say my success rate is 100% if people finish it till the end. The number one thing I run into is budget. Those would be the restrictions, right? Because if someone has a severe case of psoriasis and I'm telling them that they need to do several colonics a week, those are $150 each. On top of that, I'm telling them we have to completely change their diet. And then on top of that, I want to give them, you know, $300 or $400 worth of supplements plus my fee. So, which is very reasonable. Like even if I didn't charge anybody my fee, it still can get expensive. But typically, if they do the protocol, like I'm saying, and they just hit it hard from the beginning, they will get some relief within the first couple of weeks. And then we can usually clear it anywhere from 6 months to 2 years. 2 years would obviously be the longer haul. But that's, you know, these, excuse me, these imbalances are at work for years and years and years in our body. So if you consider that like someone's had psoriasis since they were a kid and they're coming to me at age 40 and I'm giving them a 2-year window time frame to heal, that's really not that bad. But usually around the 6-month mark is when we see a really solid change.
Okay. And I mean, in regards to colonics, I mean, they're using a tube and loading your colon up with water to get that to eliminate. Can't you do it from the front end with the water, just drinking a lot of water on an empty stomach? Isn't that benefit? Can people, that's a good first start, right? If they do have budgetary restrictions where they can't afford to go to get a colonic, would you recommend that they just really increase that water intake on an empty stomach?
So yes, but here's the difference. When you do a colonic, you're completely eliminating everything out of your digestive system because we have several meals backed up at any given time, right? When your digestive system is completely empty, your body can focus on other things for a minute. So it can focus on maybe healing some skin things, working on some hormone things, just things that, because it's we are constantly digesting, even if we hadn't just eaten, right? So when you really just get rid of everything in there, it's very healthy and restorative. If you wanted to do it orally, I would say you could do a couple of salt flushes. So you would do like warm water with a tablespoon, or maybe it might take 2 tablespoons of salt and you just chug it, and about 30 to 45 minutes later, you will empty your bowels. And if you did a few salt flushes until your bowels just ran clear with water, that would be the closest thing to getting a colonic.
What about a coffee enema? You know, where you're going through the back door.
You know, I have never done one. I think that I've heard that they're very beneficial. I also put people on homeopathic medicine, and you cannot have the frequency of caffeine in your body. So typically when I'm working with someone, I say no, even though it's not going through the hepatic system, I just can't have that frequency in the body at all.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize, and I'm sure it is beneficial in the colon, but caffeine is a chemical that the plant makes. It's an insecticide. It's a defense chemical so that the plant doesn't get eaten by bugs. So I just don't feel like we need that in our body.
Can you tell us about a success story with psoriasis or eczema that you can think of that you've had in the past, that somebody that's really benefited and their life has been transformed as a result of the work that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there's probably about 10% of cases that are completely depressed. They come to me, they're in so much agony that they're crying. A lot of times what the dermatologists give them, maybe it'll work for a little bit and it stops, or maybe it causes some other sort of symptoms. So some people, when they come to me, they are very desperate and not in a good space. And when I track someone's symptoms, I'm not just like, okay, how's your skin? I'm looking at their emotions. How does this make you feel? Like I really look at every symptom that's going on. And it's really beautiful to see it change over the first 90 days, especially. They're actually feeling better emotionally and more confident. But I would say a specific success story recently. I haven't had any crazy cases recently, but I just had a case where you know who listen really well. Seems to me that men listen a lot better than women. So I had a guy come with, I know I'm shocking as well, but also with psoriasis, you did ask me this, and yes, I do always test food sensitivities with eczema and psoriasis. So he came to me, he had psoriasis. It wasn't terrible. We looked at food sensitivities. There really weren't any, which tells me that his gut is functioning very well. So if I know the gut's functioning, then we're just really working on toxins. So he listened to absolutely everything that I said. And within the first 90 days, I mean, he's cleared by like 80%. So
Wow.
that to me is very successful. And also sometimes I have really hard cases too. I just had a woman, a case with eczema, and what I wanted her to do, she just could not afford to do. She just couldn't. And she was in so much pain and just like itching and just terrible. And I just could not get enough supplementation in her to get her some relief. And she thought about getting the Dupixent shot, but we were actually able to get her into an allergy doctor that was able to give her just like some heavy antihistamines that are pharmaceutical, but better than turning to a Dupixent, right? So I'm working with that doctor. He's an osteopath, so that she can at least have her symptoms calm while we're working on the internal things. So sometimes cases are a little bit hard. So my best advice to people is don't wait until it's that bad, to get natural help, because it's, the further you are down, just the longer it is to take you back out. And same advice for chiropractic, right? A lot of people wait until they're in pain and agony, and it's so much harder to get the spine back. So I think it's just, see a naturopath, see a chiropractor, this should just be maintenance for our body, not something that we wait until we're in disease process to address.
Yes. Well, we've been here with Dr. Diana Drake, who is a specialist with skin and using it from naturopathy and being a licensed esthetician. Such a unique approach. We thank you so much for your time. You mentioned something in regards to pain. I would like to keep you on for a little longer and do another show just on pain.
Okay.
So for those that are going to be watching this week, hold on for next week, because she will be talking on that. We're going to do that in just a minute, but thank you so much for your time. How can our clients and how can our audience get a hold of you?
Sure. If anyone would like to hire me as their practitioner, I do a complimentary 15-minute consultation, and you can book that at dmdnaturalmedicine.com. For the detox that I mentioned and all the great homeopathic things, that is at drdalewellness.com. That's DRDALE wellness.com. And then the skin supplements are skinnaturopathics.com.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being on our show, and it's been great having you, and we look forward to our next one with pain.
Yes, thanks, Dr. Taylor.
This is Dr. Derek Taylor signing off for the Taylor Method for Pain-Free Living podcast. Stay tuned for our next show.
You've been listening to the Taylor Method for Pain-Free Living podcast. We hope that you found great value in this episode. For more information about the Taylor Method and our offices, visit www.drderektaylor.com. Make sure to tune in next week, as Dr. Taylor will be providing more knowledge and resources about pain-free living.